It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, June 27th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is doing a little mock draft roundup today and consolidating the data out there and seeing what we think.
Yeah, data's fun, right?
It's always fun. You know, I love a good spreadsheet, and we will talk about that, plus our plan to cover the draft all on today's show.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there. Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here, as always, with prospect expert Russ Cohen, who is on Twitter at Sportsology. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You can subscribe or follow Locked On Flyers for free over on YouTube. We're on the SiriusXM app. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you'll get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, speaking of that, we cannot thank all of you enough for stepping up and subscribing. We're well past the 900
Yeah, appreciate
mark. On our way to 1,000. And so we want to get that 900 sub thank you gift underway. So there will be a post on our YouTube channel with the question, who is the one current Flyers player you'd want to keep and not trade away or let sign elsewhere? So comment with that. And responses will be due by the last pick in the NHL draft, and we'll do the drawing soon thereafter and announce it on the show. Hopefully, by the time the draft rolls around, we'll be doing our announcement for this 1,000th subscriber.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It would be amazing. So once again, thank y'all out there. In the meantime, Keith Jones is making the rounds again a little bit. Went on the radio, I believe it was WYSP.
Yeah.
And talked about sort of the Flyers' plan. And
not YSP, WIP.
Oh, WIP, sorry. And yeah, so he had some interesting things to say, including that, you know, in terms of some of what the scuttlebutt about the potential deal with the Blues was inaccurate out there. He didn't say all of it was inaccurate. He said some of it was, but that the rumors actually opened the door to additional conversations with some other teams.
Yeah, I mean, all of that's fine. And I think that this was probably a good time for him to go on the air just to kind of make things look a little better, because fans, by the end of that day, going into that next morning, we're not thrilled with the team. Now, it's not all their fault, obviously.
Right.
Though leaks are, and that's something where the Flyers could do something about that. But sometimes it leaks from the other side too. But at the end of the day, this is why sometimes those kinds of leaks are bad, because all of a sudden complications happen, and all of a sudden you're tweeting 5-6 times about the same situation, and the fans kind of go on a roller coaster.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a lot of that over the last couple of days. One of the more interesting aspects of it was, of course, the news that came out about the Tony DeAngelo deal that did not go through because of the specific issue with the 12-month rule that's in the CBA. And that there was a deal in place, but the league rejected it because they, in theory, should have had to wait a few more days until it would have made a full 12 months since the original deal took place to bring Tony DeAngelo to the Flyers.
Yeah, that's a procedural error that, you know, should not have happened. And now you hope that deal will still be there. But you never know. If Carolina sees something better, they might just go for that. So, you know, that's something, one of those things that they have to tighten up in the front office.
Yeah, the league thought it might have been a cap circumvention, which, as everybody's been pointing out, that doesn't really make sense in the context of this particular deal and the fact, that it was the Flyers that signed him in the first place. And with retaining salary, they're not trying to circumvent the cap here.
No, but this rule's been on the books for a while, and like all the cap
Oh,
guys,
sure.
they know it. Like it's out there.
Yeah, it just seems like these two teams thought that the trade didn't violate the spirit of the law if it did the letter of the law, uh, to put it that way, and they might be able to get away with it, but they did not, and the information leaked out, and some chips are going to fall, I think, as a result of that.
Yep.
And then, of course, with the big trade between Boston and Chicago, opening up some cap space in Boston, that kind of opens up the possibility, if this is what Boston wants, that Torrey Krug could be flipped and go back to Boston if this Flyers deal with St. Louis were to go through. Now that would still all have to be approved, and the Blues would still want to have to do it, and the Bruins would have to do it. But I think it could either go two ways. It could make it more likely this deal will take place, or it could just end the deal as a possibility completely.
I think this deal's on life support. I don't
Yeah.
think that's for Torrey Krug. I think it's for Tyler Bertuzzi. I think that's who they want to bring in. And so I think that's who they made the cap space for, if you ask me. So
Yeah. The Bruins did.
The Bruins, yes, for
Yeah.
Bertuzzi, because they liked what they saw in the playoffs. So, as far as Torrey Krug goes, unless somebody's sending him to Detroit, he's probably not going anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely the case. I would definitely lower the chances of this deal happening, but again, anything can happen. I
Sure.
know, Elliot Friedman said that a lot of people were trying to work Torrey Krug to make the deal work, in terms of John LeClaire's agent, who was the same one as Torrey Krug, and there's that connection there, but it just didn't work, and Krug didn't budge, and more power to him, like we said on yesterday's
Yeah.
show. But yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster, and for it to end up with nothing would be a difficult pill to swallow, but learning experience for Danny Briere at the same time.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, the learning experience is, okay, where these leaks come from. We have to really be sure when a deal is done before we say anything to anybody, which you would think it'd be SOP, but yeah, this is a new front office, so some of
Yeah.
that's happening.
Yeah, I think lot of learning curve activity happening with this group. As far as our plan for the NHL draft upcoming, Russ, of course, as we have said, will be on site in Nashville at the draft. And so how that's going to work for us, we're not going to put out a formal show tomorrow morning, because of Russ's travel and all of that. So what we will be doing, though, is on Wednesday at the draft, we will be posting reaction clips and all of that on Wednesday night, going into Thursday as well. So you'll have all of our information and reactions to who the Flyers pick in the draft as it happens on night one. There could be some deals as well. You never know, but I'm assuming they'll at least pick at 7, and then we'll see about 22.
Yeah, and before the end of it, like, in case things get crazy, I'll try and at least mention or convey to you somehow things that maybe were talked about that didn't go through.
Yep.
Whether it's both of us or me sending you a message or something, but we'll try and get that too.
Yeah, so we'll get you all the behind the scenes info from the floor via Russ. So then we'll have a recap show on day 1, and then a full draft recap coming after that. So stay tuned for all that content. In the meantime, we are going to do a little mock draft roundup and look at the data on who everybody out there thinks the Flyers are going to pick and what we think about that, coming up next. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. My favorite part of the Gametime app is that it's great for getting notified about last minute tickets and flash deals. Plus, you can get views from your seats. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Also, tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you'll never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. After today's show, be sure to check out Locked On's 2023 NHL Mock Draft Special. The local hosts of the Locked On NHL channel have made their picks, and hosts Gil Martin and Hadi Kalakachi break down every selection over a 3-day mock draft event. You can find those episodes on the Locked On NHL channel on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So, Russ, looking around ye old internet and some major outlets, I wanted to see who everybody else out there thought the Flyers should take at 7th overall. So I found 23 different mock drafts, consolidated the data, and out of those 23, 14 of them said Ryan Leonard would be the pick.
Yeah, and I'm not shocked. That's how I went with it. That's how we went with it on the video mock, right? And
Yep.
so it's the most popular one. The only thing that could screw it up is if Arizona takes Leonard. That's it, because they took him out to dinner. But they take a lot of prospects out to dinner. So that's otherwise, I think we're headed for a collision course with that, regardless of all the other things we've heard. I saw the way Brent spoke about Leonard when he was talking about the different NTDP guys at the pre-draft that they had last week, and he was pretty glowing.
Yeah, I think, that's really the direction it in theory will be heading. But again, it's the draft and
Oh yeah,
and
you never know
anything can
100%.
happen. Interestingly, the player with the second most votes, I guess, for the Flyers at 7 is Matvei Michkov. And I think that it's sort of like a if he's available situation, assuming that the teams above, like you said, make some picks that maybe are a little unexpected, and that's where Michkov would fall. And seems like, based on, again, what Brent had to say, what Danny had to say, that they're going to meet with him, and that's kind of the deciding factor. But they seem to be interested in him and are going to have a difficult decision if he's available.
Yeah, no question. I think that's all accurate. I just don't see him getting past Montreal. Montreal was meeting with him before we did this show, and Nick Bobroff is the co-director of amateur scouting, noted Russian scout who has great reach into Russia. So you would have to think he'd be pretty impressed, Michkov would, after that. And honestly, the Canadians need like a superstar. Like Cole Caulfield's a terrific player, but he's not really like a superstar. He's a tremendous shooter. And Nick Suzuki is a tremendous all-around player, but he's not really a superstar. You could get a superstar in Michkov. So, and there's a long history of with the Canadians and Russians.
Yes, there absolutely is. A couple other guys on that list: Zach Benson, who we've talked about, David Reinbacher got 2 bids each for the Flyers to take at 7. There were a few guys out there that were like lone wolf picks, I think, for the Flyers at 7. One of which was Dalibor Dvorsky, who we have talked about on this show before. The 2 I was intrigued by were picks that were of guys we haven't really dug into very much on our show because we thought the possibilities was pretty low. One of them was Nate Danielson. And I'm just curious what you think about that, Russ. He's a center from, Brandon Wheat King, so there's that heritage right there, but he's generally ranked like mid to late first round, even though he has been a pretty solid presence in Brandon.
Yeah, I think, and he was mentioned by Brent in the press conference, but I think the problem with Danielson is I've spoken to 2 or 3 other people who are scouts or do things like I do, and they really watch a lot of prospects um, and basically look at Danielson and don't know what he is, where to fit him, what he is. Like, is he a second line or only or bust kind of guy? Can he be top 9? Is that it? He's not going to play on the 4th line. So it's kind of like, where do you peg him? And I think that's the
Right.
problem right now with him. Points are great. He's obviously got offensive talent, but so does everybody else. So do a lot of other guys going into the NHL, but you got to find that one undeniable thing that he does, and I've had a hard time finding that.
Yeah, it seems like that is the prevailing opinion about him. And that I feel like the Flyers, if they're going to pick a center like that, they're going to want somebody with at least one thing that's a high ceiling that
Right.
they do, right? That they're not just going to be sucked in by a center who's like kind of a jack of all trades, master of none.
And scores a lot of points and you don't want to get seduced by just that.
Well, the Flyers would, I guess,
I know.
now that I'm
I know.
thinking about it.
I know.
But there's been no real chatter around him. So I would say,
other than that one mention of Brent.
yeah, I think so. The other name that came up was Colby Barlow, which again is a guy who's ranked mid-round, a 6'1" left winger from Owen Sound. And I will say, he had a generally pretty solid U18 tournament for Team Canada.
Oh, he was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought given the minutes that he had, I thought he did really, really well in that tournament and has played really well for Owen Sound as well this year. Captain of that team, 79 points in 59 games this season. Not too shabby. It just seems like there's just other guys that are better, and that's why he's ranked a little bit lower. And so at 7 would be a little bit of a reach.
More well-rounded. Like he may have the best. He may be the best goal scorer in the draft. That may prove out. And he's got a tremendous shot and a tremendous release. And when he's in the slot, he's really hard to get out, but he could also score from beyond that. And there's a little bit of physicality in his game for sure. And, defense is okay, but you're really getting him for, that shot. And so at 7, you're like, yeah, there's more well-rounded guys. That's the answer.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely the case. And it is just really fascinating with all of these mock drafts that like people really think they know what the Flyers are going to do, like the way some of these were described. And of course, some of them are like what they think the Flyers should do versus what they will do. And
Right.
that's a distinction we make on this show a lot. But I think most people out there would assume that Ryan Leonard is the prototypical Flyers guy, and they like that there's no other choice if he's available.
Right, but that's the key thing. You just said if he's available. So let's say, for argument's sake, okay, let's say Mitchkov goes at 4 and Leonard goes at 5 and Will Smith goes at 6. That's going to blow up their board, man. Like
It really is.
Then you're going to be like, wow, what are they going to do now? Like that's going to make things change, right? And that's when
you cross really your fingers and say, please take Zach Benson.
Yeah. That's when you really got to go with the board and where they have them, ranked. And we don't know that. So we're just guessing what they do with that. And that's the tough part is all of a sudden, if the strategy is different because it changed, what they thought would happen changed.
Yeah. Well, we don't have much longer to wait on that. So
no.
I can't wait until we know all of these answers to these questions.
Don't rush it. I've got a free show I've got to do for the draft. I got to fly there. Who knows if I'm going to get delayed? Like I got a lot of stuff before then, Rachel. Don't push it too much.
Well, I will keep you in my travel thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. I hope you do because I'll need it.
In the meantime, I think obviously the bigger question mark is what the Flyers could possibly do at 22, given that they keep the pick, and we will get to that coming up next. All right, so again, surveying the mock drafts out there and looking at who people said the Flyers would take at 22nd overall. Now, a few of these mock drafts still had Columbus at that pick when they did it. So I didn't count that in the data, except for your pick, Russ, because you
I
said it
explained
was.
it to you.
Yes, and we're going to get to that in a second. But the thing that I thought was interesting is that a lot of the guys we talked about, Edward Shala, Andrew Crystal, Tanner Molendyke, Otto Stenberg, Gabe Perreault, Dmitry Simashev. We talked about all those guys on the show. But the one that had the most selections at 22 for the Flyers, we did not talk about on the show yet. And so I want to talk about Oliver Bonk, who is a right-handed defenseman coming from the London Knights, 6'1", 176 pounds. Really had a solid season with 40 points in 67 games for London. A really strong playoffs as well, with 11 assists in 21 playoff games for London. And we've talked about other defensemen that are kind of mid-late first round. What do you think would make Oliver Bonk stand out to the Flyers in particular?
Maybe his lineage because of his father Radek. I honestly he gets talked up a lot because he's from London, and that's they always have a lot of hype. The hype machine gets crazy there. I don't think he had a great playoffs. I think he was just sure, a right-handed shot, but he's not like a prolific offensive defenseman either. He's good at everything. He'll play in the NHL, but there's I think other guys that could be way more impactful. He's gonna be good on shifts. He's fast. He passes the puck well. It's not like he has a tremendous shot. It's not like he's got speed to burn. He doesn't have a ton of things or one thing that stands out either. Where I think there's other more well-rounded guys that are better suited for that. But there is a lot of hype around him, and he has a father that played, so that's part of it.
Yeah, one of the other top picks for the Flyers at 22 was Callum Ritchie. And we talked about him a little bit when we were wrapping up the U18 Worlds. He had a really good tournament, ranked mid-late first round for the most part, so the timing fits really well. What is your take on Callum Ritchie?
Yeah, I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think he's another very safe pick. But again, if you're going to be at 22 and you're going to just go safe like this, I think you're going to be underwhelmed in the end, because I think there'll be some other guys that you could have taken a bigger swing at that would have done better. Ritchie's fine. He's decent speed. He has a good shot. He plays an all-around game. He doesn't scare anybody offensively. He certainly is effective, and he's smart and knows what to do, anticipating plays and things like that. But again, I just look at him and say, well, all right, I don't know what your specialty is, your special factor. Now, he's worn an A, so he's a good leader. Okay. I mean, that's something, but I just think you could, go for higher, he's a high floor guy. I'm going for a high ceiling guy myself.
Yeah, a high ceiling sounds like the better option, and the strategy that the Flyers have employed in the past at a lower first round pick before. So it's not based on nothing. I think it's something that the Flyers tend to do, is look for guys with a higher ceiling and take a little bit of a risk there. So wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Now, your pick for the Flyers at 22, Samuel Hanzek. Why him?
Well, I think if they go true best player available, he's the best player available, based on what he could be. Now, is that my pick who I would do there? No. But I know what other people think of Samuel Hanzik, and he didn't play a ton of games, so the window this year was a little shorter than what you'd like. But he's big and he could score, and he's got really good vision, and he's got a nice shot. And so there's a lot of things there the Flyers like. There's a lot of things there a lot of teams like. So if he's still there, you have to consider him. And I believe he would be considered if he's still there.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I think
Yeah.
that it's a really good option. I think it would fit in with the
Another
rebuild.
WHL guy.
Yeah. Well, gotta love all those guys. But I do think in terms of the rebuild and the timing and the path to the NHL, I think that works out really well for the Flyers too. So yeah, I think it's really good. I think who the Flyers pick at 22, again, should the Flyers stay at 22 with any potential trades, I am absolutely intrigued by this pick and who they could be and what the potential is, partially because it's more unknown, right? So it makes it more fun, but also I think mid-late first rounders that hit are some of the most fun guys that end up in the NHL.
No question. I think also the reason Dmitry Simashev only has one vote is because nobody believes he'll be there at that point. That's why. Like if he were there, I don't even think the Flyers would consider anybody else. I think they would run right up and just say, yeah, give us Simashev. Because he's a 6'4" defenseman that skates well and does a lot of things. I think they're taking that if he's there. But nobody believes he'll be there.
Yeah, I think so too. That is probably what was going on there. But yeah, like everybody's got their mock drafts in. We're getting going. And again, our next full episode will be after round 1 of the draft. But you'll get all of our content during the draft that we talked about earlier in the show. Can't wait to hear from Russ and all the inside scoop from the draft floor. In the meantime, again, thank you for subscribing. Look for that post on
really
our
appreciate
YouTube channel. And answer the question and have a chance to win. Oh, I don't even think I said what the giveaway was for 900. So
no, I don't know if we did.
So as a reward for listening to the full end of the episode, you'll hear that the giveaway is an autographed Joel Farabee puck.
There you go.
You can look forward to getting that giveaway, and we'll be back with all that good draft coverage over the next several days. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you, so you can send in your mailbag questions via Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com or comment over on YouTube. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology. SPORTSOLOGY.
Have a great day and a great draft, everyone.